Grand Rising, everybody. How you doing? Welcome to the live today. Welcome to Deconstructing Christianity. I'm your host, Coach Renz. And today we are going to continue our discussion that we started yesterday. TikTok, you don't get to see my face for a little bit because I'm going to have my cigar. TikTok be tripping. But today we're going to have that conversation, continue our conversation about the fact that the atheists are more moral than God. And this time I put up a couple of prompts to get the conversation going in certain directions. Oh, let's remove that then. Have to make a change over here. All right, so we're going to continue to have this discussion. We're live today on TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook. Each one of them, Facebook and YouTube is right in front of me. TikTok is on my phone. Oh, hopefully we'll have some good guest conversations today to continue this discussion. And since, I'm having my cigar, so TikTok, they be trying to keep my numbers down. We're going to test it and see. Get the cigar ready. So we're going to start doing the lives a little bit earlier than we normally do because I'm not getting in the gym like I want to. So we have the live a little bit earlier, finish up no later than 4, then I can get into the gym. Probably going to finish around 3:30. But looking forward to having a live discussion. Yesterday we had the discussion was really good. We stayed on subject matter for the majority of the time. Hopefully we can stay on the subject matter again today. We're going to stay on the subject matter again today. These are the primary things that we're going to talk about concerning whether or not atheists are more moral than God. So we're talking about the slavery being, and these are things that the Bible approves and the Bible does. Slavery, the approval of slavery, chattel slavery to be exact. The lack of women's rights, the lack of children's rights, the genocide of people, the conquest of other nations, and no free will, and intolerance toward of others' beliefs are the primary things that we're going to discuss. So when a guest comes up, I'm going to ask them to talk about one of these matters. Now, 3 people have clicked on, but I don't know who did it first, so I'm just going to go based on what I see here. That was the first one. That was a comment. That comment looks stupid, so we're just gonna skip it.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing? What's your name?
You can call me T.
All right, T. And how old are you?
18.
You got to be 21, man, to be on my lives.
It doesn't say that on your prompt anywhere.
It doesn't. Well, that doesn't matter. I'm telling you now.
Okay.
Yeah.
You should probably put it up there then.
Okay. Thank you, but appreciate it. I really don't care that other people put that on their prompts. I don't put all the rules on my prompts. Got a rule that I can interrupt you and you can't interrupt me, but that's not on my prompts. So really don't care. Matthew.
What's up?
All right, welcome. How old are you?
30.
You said 30?
Yeah.
All right. And are you a believer in any God?
Yeah, I'm a Christian.
Can you speak up just a little bit for me?
I'm a Christian here.
Okay. All right. So what do you think? Which prompt would you like to talk about?
You said slavery approved?
I'm sorry. Say that again.
You said it's slavery approved?
Yes. Okay. So, yeah. So the Bible approves slavery. And today, our morality, for the majority of the world, we disapprove slavery.
Okay. When you say slavery, what do you mean?
I mean, chattel slavery, the owning of people as property.
movable property, right? But um, so okay, I'm gonna posit that it's not the same type of slavery. Um, that it's actually a form of indentured servitude because when you look at the Torah, right,
Mm-hmm.
the Torah is gonna prescribe in Deuteronomy 23, verse 15, that if a slave has taken refuge with you, don't hand them over to their master, which implies that that type of servitude, all right, was optional in that if the slave left, then there wasn't an obligation for anyone who found them to return them to their master. So
Actually, that was part of some of the slave laws that were here in the Americas. When a slave ran away to a free state, they were under no obligation to return that slave to his master, even though they did allow for slave retrievers to come and take them back. The fact that once the slave made his way to the north or into Canada, they were considered to be free men because so they follow that idea of Deuteronomy. But you are ignoring, and it's not servitude, because when we look at Leviticus 25, you go down to verses 44, start at verse 44. As for your male and female slaves whom you may have, it is from the nations around you that you may acquire them male and female slaves. You may also acquire them from the aliens residing amongst you and from their families who are with you and have been born in your land, and they may be your property, which is chattel slavery. You may keep them as a possession for your children after you, for them to inherit as property. These you may treat as slaves, but as far as your fellow Israelites, no one shall rule over you as others with harshness. So how is that any different from the chattel slavery that occurred in closer to our time?
Yeah, so you're gonna be from the United States, but I'm from the West Indies, right? So
okay, it's no different in the West Indies.
Yeah, under slavery in the West Indies, in the colonies, right, in the English colonies, you could not escape because slavery was lawful. You could not escape.
You're focused on escape. That part right there, slavery ain't got nothing to do with escaping. In the West Indies, did the British own indigenous and African slaves as property and pass them down as their son to their inheritance?
Yeah, but what's going to be the efficacy of that if I can just leave?
Did they own them? Did they buy them? Did somebody bring them over and then exchange them for money or other properties?
Of course, and it's like, okay, in the same way that you know about indentured servitude, right? So indentured servants were in the same way owned.
No, they were not. No, they were not. Indentured servitude is when two people come to an agreement of a contract based on some type of indebtedness, and then after the contract ends, based on either the payback of the debt or a 7-year term. So it's like a contract worker. It is not property own you for the rest of your life. Those are two completely different scenarios.
Okay, I agree.
Oh.
But my contention is going to be the usage of the word own, right? So
the usage of, I'm sorry, wait a minute. The usage of the word what? Own. Okay.
Ownership. Yeah, because if we're talking about ownership in terms of all right, like somebody who's property. My whole argument is this: if I really own you in the sense of, for example, like I purchase a piece of furniture, I can move that furniture anywhere I want. If that furniture is stolen from me, then it is my right to retrieve that furniture. That's what property means. So when there's this prescription in Deuteronomy 23 and verse 15 that if this slave leaves and the owner doesn't have the right to retrieve them, then my point is this, that the usage of the term property is not the same way we use the term property, because the word itself, property, loses its efficacy. That's my point.
It doesn't lose
It
okay, it doesn't lose its efficacy because of this simple situation. Are you in the West Indies right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh shit, I don't know the law there. Let's say you were in Madagascar. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, if I commit a financial crime, let's say I steal your money out of your bank account, and that money is your property, right?
Yeah.
Now, if I put that money in an American bank account, because of the law between the West Indies and America, you would have a right to reclaim your money. Okay. But if I put that money in a certain bank that I know about in Madagascar, you will have no claims to that money. Madagascar is not going to give you that money. So you lose your property rights in that country. Now, what's the big difference here? It depends on the laws of the country. So when a slave escapes to a different country, the laws are different based on whatever that country is. But while you were in that country, you are the property of that person. That is your property. So I understand the distinction you're trying to make, but the distinction is invalid.
No. Because okay, so contextually, that doesn't follow with Deuteronomy, right? Because it's talking about within the towns, because it literally goes down to say that he may take refuge within the towns and the land of Israel. All right. So it doesn't matter. It's somebody leaving from one country to the next. All right. That's not the point being made here. The point being made is that
actually the point being made is whether or not you're property or not. That the fact that Leviticus 25 says that you own them as property. What part of Deuteronomy? Say what part of Deuteronomy were you saying again? Just so I can bring it up.
23 and verse 15.
Okay, but you're going into semantics of how to deal with the slavery. That doesn't get rid of the fact that this God approved slavery.
No. My point is that it's not slavery in the sense of colonial slavery and Atlantic slave trade slavery. That's not the type of slavery that we see taking place. And I'm going to give you.
So what type of slavery happened in the transatlantic slavery, colonial slavery? What type of slavery are we talking about?
It's gonna be chattel slavery, but it's qualified, right? So it's different because we have to talk about the nuances that exist, especially when you're describing things that happened 3,000 years apart, right? So this is gonna be something that's taken place in the ancient world 3,000 years ago. It's very anachronistic to say that that colonial slavery is the same thing. For one, slavery was common all over the world. See, in the ancient world, slavery was common.
What does that matter?
The Bible didn't start slavery. He is just making prescriptions as to how, if one ought to have a slave, how we should treat that person.
Which is condoning. He's condoning slavery.
Yeah, but then when you say condoning, it's misleading, right?
No, it's not. It's simple. It's condoning. If I allow somebody to use morphine in my house, I'm condoning it. Whether I brought it in, whether I gave it to them, I'm condoning the use of morphine in my house.
Yeah, but that's the standard. When we're talking about slavery, right? There's a certain type of punch that comes with that word because of particularly, and I'm assuming you're black, but I see you pick, right?
Yeah, I'm black. I'm just smoking a cigar and TikTok be tripping.
Right, yeah. So I'm not seeing it. So, but with our experience right? We say because I'm black as well. So with our experience with slavery in the West Indies and in America, right? We have up this slavery has a particular type of punch. But what I'm saying is that in the biblical context, theologically, that type of slavery is not the same. And so you can't, it wouldn't have the negative connotation.
What's the difference?
That moves along.
Yes, it does. If
I'm going to show you
if one person own another person, what's the difference? It doesn't matter what time frame is one person owning another person.
I'm going to show you, because it's not just that a slave could have opted and left, right? And the owner couldn't just go and say, okay, I want back my slave, or go to retrieve the slave, which gives the sense or implies that you could quit.
No, it does not.
It does.
No, you are violating the law. If you are violating the law of God, if you are a slave and you run away, you are wrong.
Quite contrary to that, no, you're not violating. In fact, the law gives a prescription that if a slave escapes his master, the person who finds him, who he takes refuge with, doesn't have to return him.
I don't even see. Where did you say that was that in Deuteronomy?
Deuteronomy 22:15.
Oh, you said 22.
23, sorry.
Oh, 23?
Yeah. Also, you read Leviticus, right?
Yeah.
So when you go to Leviticus 19 and verse 34, right? It also says that the stranger who dwells with you shall be unto you as one born among you, and thou shalt love him as thyself, for ye were strangers in the land of Egypt. So we get this sense in Leviticus that even though you can buy slaves from the neighboring nations, once they come into the land of Israel and they live amongst you, that you should treat them as a native born, and you should love them as you love yourself. All right? And God gives a prescription as to why. He says, this is because you were also strangers and slaves in the land of Egypt. So how Egypt treated with you as slaves, you shouldn't treat with your slaves. So that is why when we talk about slavery in the biblical times and in Levitical times, it's not the same. We were treated horribly.
Okay. So treatment doesn't matter. Treatment doesn't matter. No. And we're going to get there, but treatment doesn't matter because it tells you that you can beat your slaves. That's why Leviticus 25 in that part about that I read ended with, you do not treat your fellow Israelite harshly as you would a slave, because it's identifying the difference between having an Israelite as an indentured servitude and having a person who is not an Israelite as a slave. Now, the mental gymnastics that because see, you're going through all these other different rigmaroles to try to justify it. If slavery wasn't condoned by this God as far as chattel slavery, and that's all we're talking about is chattel slavery. I'm not talking about how they were treated. It's about, did one person own another person and own them as property to pass them down? That's the simple definition of it. Then that person is a slave in the same way that it was chattel slavery throughout the rest of history.
I'm saying no. I'm saying there's nuance. I'm saying that it's much more complicated.
It's really not complicated at all. You're making it more complicated by trying to add in these different things to separate the slavery that
I'm showing you the distinctions.
And your distinctions don't matter. Is my point.
They do if your argument is efficacious. If you want to make a powerful argument, that when you use the term slavery, right, you want, because you're using it to get some type of rise out of people.
So
because what we understand about slavery is not what the Bible is talking about.
So
and that's my argument.
So how were slaves treated in ancient times in the Bible.
So again, so I'm going through it. I just mentioned Leviticus 19:34, where it says you should treat the stranger that's bought, you should treat them as one who is native born, right? You should love them as you love yourself, because you were strangers in the land of Egypt, i.e., you were slaves. Because that's what they were in the land of Egypt. So it's God is saying, don't treat them like the Egyptians treated you when you were slaves. You should treat the stranger among you as one who is native born.
That's
so
the where no,
disqualifies.
No, it does not. No, what verse was
that?
that? What verse was that in Leviticus 25?
Leviticus 19:34. It comes before
Leviticus 19. Leviticus 19. Let me jump to Leviticus 19 real quick here. Let me jump, because the problem.
Hold on, like you here for? I gotta go, man. But it was really
well.
Nice talking to you.
Before you go there, the problem that you have with Leviticus 19 is that it is talking about the strangers who just live within your land. It is not talking about the ones you buy as slaves. That is a completely different. That's a completely different distinction of citizenship within the Israelite people. They're not talking about the ones you bought as slaves. They're just talking about strangers, aliens who live amongst you.
Right. So
that's like,
does it not follow that if I buy a slave, they're gonna live amongst me and they're
strangers? That's you're adding to it. You're adding to it. You're creating the loophole. You're creating the loophole in order to justify the fact that you want to remain Christian, but you don't want your God condoning the slavery that your ancestors and my ancestors went through. So it's a mental gymnastics of coping. You're coping.
It's gonna logically follow.
It does not.
Slave, that they are a stranger who lives amongst me because they have to live under the Torah.
If that was the case, Leviticus 12 would not say that you can beat your slave till they almost die.
No, it doesn't say that. It says you can beat your slave, but if they die, you're gonna be guilty.
If they die within a few days. So if they don't die within like a few days, then you're guilty. But if I beat the shit out of you, but you don't die, and next year you're still there, there's no punishment. So I can beat you. Can you not understand that beating a slave, I'm gonna give you 3 lashes for burning the bread. Pop, pop, pop. You still alive? Yeah, you still working. So I can beat you. So the slave can be beaten.
I have it before me. You're misreading it. So it says
that's not a misreading. You just don't want to accept it.
No, it says anyone who beats their male or female slave with a rod must be punished if the slave dies as a direct result.
Right. So if
no prescription on time there.
So if the slave don't did slaves in the West Indies, all of them die every time they got beaten? Did they die?
Well, do you know there's a okay?
Did they die? Simple question, bro. Did they die?
Yeah, because
every slave in the West Indies that got beat died. That's bad for business.
I can get beaten and die of cancer. 6 months later, what?
No. It says if you die as a result of being beaten, then you're punished. But if you don't die, I've gotten my butt whooped by my grandfather plenty of times and I didn't die.
Yeah.
So I'm not equating that to the same level of beating that some slaves took. But a beating does not necessarily mean you are going to die. And that was the precursor of it, is that as long as you don't beat the slave to death, then the master is not punished. But you can beat your slave. Can you admit that you can beat your slave?
Okay. Yeah. You can. It doesn't say how harshly though.
It does. As long as they don't die. That's telling you how harsh the beating. If the beating can't be so harsh that they die, it's telling you right there.
I understand that. But my point is, your original point was if they don't die within a couple of days, it doesn't say that. It literally.
You just read it. And it said as long as they don't die within a few days as a result of the beating.
Yeah, but you said if they die. Okay, my point is this. they will be punished if the slave dies because it's a human
Okay,
life.
but you can beat the slave, right? So were slaves beaten in the chattel slavery by the British in the West Indies and in Americas and all over the place? Were they beaten?
That wasn't even the worst thing.
Were they beaten?
They were put
You,
in breeding camps.
were they beaten? Were they beaten?
Yeah.
Okay, so they followed the rules of the Bible. You can beat the slave.
Yeah, but were they beaten to death?
If they were beaten to death, like in Louisiana on the blue laws, it says that if you beat your slave and they die within a few days, then that master is punished. And that was a law in the United States, a part of the slave laws, protection for the slavery.
That's not what the scripture said.
That's exactly what the scripture says. Louisiana based this law off the Bible. What are you talking about?
They were wrong. They were wrong because the scripture doesn't say if they die within a few days. The scripture says if they die as a direct result. So that's no prescription.
You just read it. If they said, where is that? Where's that shit?
Exodus 21:20-21. Hey, my friend, I gotta go, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was nice talking to you. How long are you on for?
Till 3:30 at the most.
All right, no problem. So we'll catch you another time.
All right. You know, I gotta say, I find it very disheartening when a person whose most recent ancestors, you know, if you're Caucasian and you're Irish and your family hasn't been through the violence of slavery in so many generations that it doesn't affect you, it really doesn't, you know, it's not there, you don't still see the effects of it, you know, that's one thing. But when you're still dealing with the repercussions of the most recent high level of slavery that's ever happened, and you do these mental gymnastics to try to justify it, it blows my mind, because Exodus 21:20, and I said 12 earlier, so excuse me, it says when the slave owner strikes and strikes a male or female slave with a rod, and the slave dies immediately, the owner shall be punished. So there's your time. But if the slave survives a day or two, there is no punishment. There's your time. For the slave is the owner's property. There's the chattel slavery. How hard is this? It is not that hard. But because people cope and want to stay in this religion, they have to do that. They have to stick with it. They have to do the mental gymnastics. Oh, is that my man? Let's see if he's still there. Damn, he ain't there. They little fire. Little fire. Oh. Little fire. Little fire going once. Oh, I think it was. Are you on by accident, little fire? He muted his phone. I'm thinking little fire did it by accident. That happens a lot, so we're just gonna disconnect little fire. Right, hijack. It's diabolical to me too. How can you sit here in the West Indies, where what most people may not know is that more slaves from Africa went to the West Indies and then down into South America than came into North America, and so and more died on those sugarcane fields down there than in any other place. And yet their idea, they justify that, oh, it's a different kind, they did it wrong. Slavery is slavery. I don't care if you did it right, wrong, the Bible justifies it. If you're saying that your property, you own somebody, it's justified.
Yo, what's up, bro?
How you doing? What's the name? What's your name? M. Death. Okay, I couldn't see it at first.
You atheist?
Wait, first, are you over 21?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, you got no proof that that's the problem.
Okay, so there's no validity to that statement.
You ain't got no proof there isn't a God.
That's an opinion.
No, it's the truth.
What's your proof that God
It's not
exists?
the-
What's your proof that God exists? What's your
my
proof?
own personal proof.
Personal experience don't mean anything, because a person who believes in Hinduism,
Yeah, just like you.
a Hinduist person, they can claim the same thing. So, so you believe Brahma exists? If somebody says that, if a Brahma exists, if somebody says they experience Brahma's loving hand,
Trust me, bro. There's no God, no proof.
do you have actually something constructive that you want to talk about, or
No,
are you
I'm
just
telling you because you got no proof. I'm just letting you know. It came up just to tell you got no proof.
yeah, and you're gone? Okay, if you cannot have, your Bible says that you're supposed to be able to come up when you're talking about your God and have something constructive, be knowledgeable about it, and do it in a polite way. That's in your New Testament. You might want to go back and read your Bible so that you know how to have a conversation with someone, instead of just, you got no proof. My experience, you got no proof. I mean, my experience, the spaghetti monster on Saturn exists. You know, I had some great Parmesan last night. He sprinkled the Parmesan on us last night with the spaghetti, you know, so hey. You know, I agree, Copper. It was all over the Americas. They had chattel slavery, but even in Europe, before this so-called the age of discovery, there was chattel slavery going on in Europe. There was chattel slavery has gone on all over the world, and almost everyone cited their gods as approval of this slavery. The Romans had slavery, Africans had slavery, Asians had slavery. Everybody had some chattel slavery. But what we talk about is the Bible. Their God condones it. But coming on here to make your little stupid declarations, oh, I've got my experience. Because I'm telling you, the Parmesan that was sprinkled on the noodles, the loving, wrapping noodles of the spaghetti monster on Saturn, was exquisite last night as we paid homage to the spaghetti monster on Saturn. And I've experienced his loving embrace of the noodles. Your experience don't mean nothing. I love I used to enjoy when they would come on and say that nonsense, but it's annoying. It's annoying. But the lines are open for anyone who want to come up here, especially those who think that their God, that the God of the Bible or any God, is more moral than we are today, especially the God of the Bible. I'm really looking for these Bible believers. And that argument that they try to make that the slavery was different then than it is now, his idea of Deuteronomy, the first gentleman, not that second idiot, and that's what I'm gonna call him. When it's talking about you shall not return the owner's slave, this is when you are the Israelites and a slave from a foreign land comes into your land, and then they choose to live among you. You do not treat them, you don't send them back. This has nothing to do with Leviticus 25, as the gentleman was trying to say. Now, even if it did, it still does not negate Leviticus 25. Like, even if it did. So if this guy truly wanted slavery to be something that the Israelites don't do, then he could have just said, don't buy any slaves. But instead, he told them where to buy their slaves. Hey, man, buy your slaves from the foreigners. And don't enslave your fellow Hebrew, except there are exceptions for property slaving your fellow Hebrews. But when you property slave them, you still aren't supposed to treat them harshly as you would treat the alien slave. So it's like your Hebrew slaves will be the house slaves. So you don't treat them harshly. You don't beat them. But they still did slavery. So, this is really just, we're writing this book, and our culture today says slavery. So we're going to make our God say how we're supposed to do slavery and condone the slavery that we're doing. So like if a Bible was written today, it would probably, in the same, it'll be part of the 10 Commandments, probably. No man shall own another man. because the Bible is just showing you what the morality of the people were at that time frame. That's all that's all it's doing when it's talking about these things. The issue is that that mentality was carried forward for centuries. For an eon, it was carried forward until people stood up against it. And like Brian is saying, they even named one of their slave ship Jesus. Now, I've never heard of the one named John the Baptist. That'll be a new one on me. But they name we are christened this slave ship in the name of Jesus, and the ship, the name is Jesus. Crack the bottle of champagne. Now let's go on over here to Ghana and get us some slaves and take them over to America so we can make some money. Let's take them to the West Indies. They slave business is good. And there were plenty of people buying them. So it's a horrible thing. But of course, we want to talk about some of the other subject matters as well. He said Jesus saying he's alive in Africa. People in Africa. Some of the antics that people are going, and this happens all over the place. People fall for stupid stuff. So I know some of the videos that we see that, you know, these pastors got people eating grass and kissing people on their booty hole and all that kind of stuff. The lengths that people will go in these beliefs are wild. But I think the saddest one is when your people only got this religion because somebody came in and conquered you. That's the only reason. If the Europeans hadn't conquered and colonized Africa, most Africans would not be Christian. If the Arabs hadn't came in and conquered in certain parts in northern Africa, there wouldn't be Muslims. They wouldn't be Muslims. If they never came to the Americas, people in the Americas wouldn't be Christian. You're only that because of conquering, because of conquest. The sword of life. Sword of life. Good afternoon. Are you over 21?
Yes, sir.
Cool. Good. And are you a believer?
Yes, I think it's past believing. I think I'm at the stage of knowing.
Okay. And you are a believer of what God?
Life is God. The creator is life, and we call him God. We title him God.
Okay.
So whatever. Yeah. So
what is this based off of? Is based on?
Oh, so the Almighty essence is what he is. So first he said, my name is what I am. So his name is what it actually is referred as. And when you look at who the Almighty is, we title God, is life.
Okay, where did he say this?
So in books where he says, you know, he gave the breath of himself to Adam.
Okay, so so you believe in the God of the Bible?
Yes.
That's what I was getting at, man.
Yes.
So it's the Bible, because I got to have a basis of how you are and who you mean when you say God or Almighty. Okay, so you believe in the God of the Bible?
Yes, I do.
All right. And you think that the God of the Bible is moral?
Of course, if we understand what morals is, and you look at his laws, it's different than moral.
We're talking about these up here. Do these show the morality of a moral God?
Acts of punishment, yes. So slavery is chastisement for his children when they're disobedient. And when you look at women's right, if you give women too much right of marriage, hold on.
Leviticus 25 has nothing to do with chastisement. Leviticus 25 just says that if you can buy your slaves from the foreigners, nobody's being chastised. This is just I'm making a purchase.
Okay, all right, yeah. So there are some people that you can't have. You have some people that have to serve people for things to go in one order. If you have 3 world power, 4 world power, you can have aggression within states. So let's say
You know, you have Israel would be the firstborn, who would be the head. The younger brothers then would be the one that serve him. They would build his infrastructure while he served the Almighty. Just as though you have children within your household where you give them chores. One do the house, one take care of this. One.
So you're saying you got to have slaves?
So, and the Almighty refers to them as servants.
No, it says slaves.
Well, in some translation, some say slaves. In some translations, it's servants.
Well, the use of the Hebrew word is slave.
Well, in some translation, they say servants, but
Because but they're wrong.
If you want to have a unified state, right, where everything's under one umbrella, you have some people that are good for building infrastructure. You have some people that are good for building in texts. And you have the Israelites who are there to serve the Almighty.
What country you live in?
Excuse me?
What country do you live in?
I live in the States.
Do we have slaves in the States?
Well, no, this is mankind order, and it's a disruptive order. It's chaotic right now.
You said in order to have a unified nation, you got to have some slaves.
No, but your country is not unified right now. It's quite divided.
No, it's still unified.
It's divided in more time in history than ever. Right before
No.
The far right,
No.
The far right and the far left.
No.
You're on the precipice of civil war right now.
But we've had a civil war. The country was more divided during the civil war than it was now.
I think now you are closer to war than any time.
But we're not there. But we're not.
But we are so close that we're teetering to the Armageddon.
Other than the civil war, this country has been unified for 250 years.
But I'm saying to you, you're more so divided than ever right now.
That has nothing to do with the fact that
are closely where there may be a war among themselves.
And if was a fifth, we'd all be drunk. That doesn't have nothing to do with the fact that your statement is that in order to have a unified country, you got to have some slaves.
You have to have a leader. In everything,
Nope.
You have to have a head.
I said slaves.
I would say servants. You have to have some people that are good at infrastructure. You have to have.
Are you a servant?
I am a servant of the Almighty.
No. We're talking about, you see, don't switch it.
No,
Are you a servant of America?
I'm a servant. I just give you what I'm serving. I'm a servant of the Almighty.
Are you a servant of the United States?
I'm a servant of the Almighty God.
So your whole statement about being a servant, in order to have a unified country, you got to have some servants.
So the Almighty,
You want to retract that?
The Almighty does not look at us as a country or a state. He looks at us as children, right? And he did say the children of Israel are the firstborn. This is facts, right?
It's a fact that they say it. It ain't a fact of reality.
No. So the Almighty is not in agreement with nothing that's going on currently within the states or within the states of the earth. He's never agreed with none of these things.
Okay.
He's in agreement of what he said is supposed to be done.
Now,
and when you look at
you going like way off, my guy. I don't want to get off subject. Slavery. Why? Yeah. What prevents if your God can sit up there and say that you cannot have two different kinds of linen mixed together? He couldn't say that. No slavery.
As I said, I don't think in the book I read it said servant. Book I read it said servant.
What book you read? King James.
King James.
That's why it says servant, because the King James is one of the worst translations ever made. The King James is a terrible translation.
Okay, so we are all children of light. Light get to choose whoever he wants to be and how he wants. This is Israel. This is his choice.
Look,
this is how you want your house.
I care less about the preaching part of this, man.
No, I'm not preaching.
Because at the end of we're talking about these morals, we're talking about these situations that are up there on the screen, and that's where we're going to stay. You can talk about any one of those, but as far as this apostatizing, we're not doing any of that, because I could care less about what your God thinks or what your book says, as far as who is God and all that sorts of thing. So
in anything, you have to have a hierarchy state. The whole thing has to be structured under hierarchism.
Okay, so King James is a terrible translation. It says slaves. So are you saying that you got to have some slaves?
Some versions would say slave, but it's not slave to me. In my book, I'm going to keep it exactly like what I say.
Well, your book is wrong. If you actually looked at the translations, the Leviticus 25, 44 through 46, it says slaves. It's not, the correct translation is slave, not servants. And I think in King James it says bondman, which is another term for slaves because you bought them. Let me go to the King James real quick. Where's the King James? King James version.
I love to adhere to what I see, and based upon the treatments and how the people are treated, I see servants is the same mannerisms and how you treat servants. I first see that he spoke of them to be slaves. In the King James version, he has servants, and then he has the word slaves in there as well.
In the King,
different way he treats slaves.
In the King, okay,
he shows you he treats slaves in the King James version.
Okay, so in the King James version, it says bondmen and bondwomen, bondmen and bondmaids, which thou shalt have, shall be of the heathens that are round about you. So it uses the term bondmen and bondmaids. Now, when it gets down to the, where is that at? Then it tells them not to treat them. Don't treat your fellow Israelites as harshly as you treat your bondmen and bondwomen. So it's the only difference in the treatment is based on whether or not they're of your tribe or not.
Like I said, some people were made different from others. Some people have different chores. So some people are made to concentrate on certain different things. Some people are made to concentrate on making infrastructure. Some people are made directly to serve the Almighty. So who to serve the Almighty and closer to the Almighty, life that source all life for all the earth, must be treated differently. He must have servants because his duty is to make sure everyone is blessed and everyone eat. So the one that is closer to the Almighty must be the master of all the other nations. That's a logical fact.
That's not a logical fact at all. You don't have to be over any other nation. You don't have to rule over people. You can.
Opinions are some opinions. The Almighty opinion is
no.
Opinion.
Your opinion. That's not an opinion. That's a reality that you don't have. Does the Netherlands rule over Germany?
No, hold on. No. Can I ask a question? In your household, right? You have children. Who give the order? Does your order stand in your house under your roof?
Does my what?
Does your rule that when you say something to your children, it should go right?
Of course.
Okay. So we are the children of life. Life tells us what to do. We must carry his order.
So you saying the Israelites should rule over everybody in the world? So everybody should be ruled under.
What life tells us.
Everybody should be ruled. Everybody should be slaves under Israel.
No, I said to you, if you want to classify that as yes, well, the Almighty said they're bond slaves, bondmaids.
Yeah, slaves.
The exact word. No, there's terms where he treats them. He treats the children of Israel like slaves. Until this day, they're still in slavery. They've been afflicted. They've been treated as slaves. They're different between an
Okay, so the point
different between slaves and servants.
No, there is a difference between how you treat an Israelite servant than how you treat a slave. That's why even in your King James version, in Leviticus 25, in your King James version, it's in verse 46, it ends with, "But over your brethren, the children of Israel, you shall not rule one over another with rigor," meaning to not be harsh towards your fellow Israelites, but to the foreigners, you can be rough with them.
I said that to him because if a servant were to lose his power, he would say free. That means you're not supposed to be treated.
Nope. That part is referring to a fellow Israelite. If an Israelite servant, see what there's and it's talking about an Israelite servant, just like in Exodus, it's talking about a non-Israelite slave, and you can beat the shit out of them. But to an Israelite, you don't.
Any servants.
Nope.
There's different treatment. Respect the order of the Almighty, which is appropriate. Is what we have today. What we're complaining, what we have is not even close to perfection to what he is given.
Okay. Okay, so you are okay with slavery. That's fine.
I'm I never said it was slavery. I said it was servitude.
Okay.
Servitude.
In that servitude, so what is it when one person owns another person? If I own you for life.
If a person have worked where he had to be a servant because he put himself in a position to be a servant.
If I own you for life, if I go and I buy you and now I own you and I can pass you down to my son Lincoln, then what are you?
No, I think for only 7 years. 7 years.
That is Israelite to Israelite that is spoken about in Leviticus 25 around 34, 35. In 44, it is of the foreigners and the foreigners who live amongst you. You may buy your slaves, own them as property, and pass them down to your sons as inheritances. That's totally separate.
There's nothing wrong with that.
So there's nothing wrong with slavery in your mind.
I said it was slavery. I never said that was slavery. I said there's nothing wrong with having servants.
So if I buy you, there's nothing wrong with that.
But you can't buy me.
No, that's what it says in Leviticus 25.
No, you can't steal a man and buy a man. If a man have put himself into a position to
that
become a servant,
has nothing to do. Dude,
you have spoils.
Bruh,
spoils.
you sound like a grown man. So I'm gonna assume that you have clarity and understand that words mean words. So when it says that as for your male and female slaves whom you may have, it is from the nations around you that you may acquire male and female slaves. You may also acquire them from among the aliens residing with you, from the families who are with you, have been born. Oh, damn, it still caught me with my cigar. Who have been born in your land. They may be your property. You may keep them as a possession for your children after you, for them to inherit as property. So you are okay with that. Yeah, since it tagged me on my cigar, I might as well just open this up.
Yeah. So
are you okay with that?
Well, yes, I'm okay with all things that I said. I said by the Almighty, there is a word that come from the mouth of the Almighty. It's appropriate and right.
Okay.
Yes, I think a lot of people have lack understanding of what the Almighty is.
I think you have proven my point, which is horrible, that you sound like you might be a black man, and you are okay with people owning other people. That's a terrible thing.
Hold on. If an individual is intelligent and smart and can bring equity to society, he will not be a slave.
That's not what does that has that one has nothing to do with but my guy. Oh no. I'm gonna respond to your statement before you start to exasperate and get longer. So when the Dahomey was at war against the Wayuda tribe, and the Wayuda tribe lost, the Benin would sell them to the Portuguese as slaves. I'm sure that there were some people in there who had great minds in the Wayuda tribe. So they can bring things to society. And you saying that, so your statement about them, if you can bring something to society, you wouldn't be a slave. No, they lost in the war. And as a POW, they were sold into slavery.
Yeah, so there were spoils.
So your statement is invalid.
You may not believe in it, but it's valid. What I'm trying to say to you, for instance, one of the reasons why England had colonized the majority of the earth is because of their innovations, the strength to innovate. So the Almighty allows him to grow because then he will carry the Bible. He will carry the words across the earth. So
you're okay with the genocide that happened in the Americas?
Hold on. If you behave intelligent,
I can't talk to you no more. I can't talk.
The leader of the earth.
I can't talk to him no more. This man just came out his face and said that because of the innovations of the Europeans, they had the power to carry the Bible around the world. So all that destruction, all that genocide that happened around the world during this age of discovery, you approve that? You are too immoral for me to have a conversation with. I can't even talk to you. That's just foolishness. My mind is oh, I need some comedy after that.
What's that? And yes, I am. What's up, Coach Ranch?
What's up there? How you
I'm at the
doing?
plant. I'm good. I'm at the plantation. I'm wilding people. I'm wanding peoples today on some front door security shit. But what you call it? You know, it's interesting about the other call. You kind of like when I have certain ideals, and I think I'm just being biased, but I often wonder that people who are also innovative, I think that also causes them to think that they have the right to rule. Because as interesting as much as I disagree with the last caller, I have to be honest. I do speculate. I don't know that most people do believe that. As long as you have the intelligence, the technology, the military, the innovation to rule or change something, then therefore you have the right to govern. And I
Uh-huh.
think, my philosophy is that, you know, religion is nothing but God is nothing but human emotion deified. So as long as I believe that most intellectuals and innovators, they might not subscribe to deityism or to be worshipped, but I think people kind of hold those two together. If you're intelligent and innovative enough to outwit the
Yeah.
people among you, then therefore you are God. And
I
that's
mean
why for me, yeah.
that's where that guy was heading. That's what he was saying, that because the
Uh-huh.
Europeans were innovative, they have the right to rule over people so they can carry and lead. And then he was talking about if you have some innovations or you're smart enough, then you won't become a slave. Like seriously,
Uh-huh.
some of
Yeah,
some of the some of the greatest inventions or knowledge growth in the world has come from someone who was a slave,
right.
and
But
they
he was
stayed
also
a slave.
but he was also trying to also say that into like, that if the person who's the enslaved is contributing, and I'm glad you cut that off to where it doesn't matter if it's under coercion, how it benefits society. It's being built off of the backs of someone else's disenfranchisement. It doesn't matter how much more convenient it makes other people's lives. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm looking at the title, Atheists are more moral than God. Of course, I agree, but you know what? A lot of times I try to do, Coach? I try to
Okay.
point out to most people that you don't follow the Bible and you're actually more moral than the God of your Bible. Because the way that you have to pick and choose what you're going to follow and not follow. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying people by just default have morality because of their beliefs. No, but because their individuality and how they
Mm-hmm.
all pick and choose, most of them have to make better moral decisions than what their God says they're supposed to make.
Look here, IG, you are messing up one of my future points that I was going to make when I get the right Christian on here,
No,
and
my
that is the
bad.
fact, and that is the exact fact that you said that most Christians are actually
Yeah.
more moral than their Bible, than their God.
Mhm. Yeah. I tell people all the time, I said, David, just because I don't believe in your God, you heard me, don't mean I don't believe in you. I definitely believe in you. Now, your ideal of what you believe in, no, I don't believe or recognize or acknowledge any of that shit. That don't mean,
Mhm.
however, I don't believe in you and your morality. There are plenty of Christians that, and even with me living in Atlanta, I kind of have to be honest. Most of my coworkers, associates that I have great working relationships have some type of Helios, Biblos, Septuagint, Tanakh type of interpretation or Hebrew Israelite of the Bible, right? But
Right.
at least that I can still tell that, okay, that is not interfering with our workplace. That is not interfering with our work ethic. So, I don't, of course, I kind of roll my eyes when they talk about the prayer thing and stuff like that. I don't do it in front of their face. I do it in my intrapersonally here. But it's kind of like, but I see where some of y'all make much better decisions than what the covenant that Jesus told you to keep, that he did not come to abolish, he came to fulfill it. I don't know why people seem to think that, well, bitch, I had 100 questions on this answer, so just because I fulfilled the 100 questions, that the other 99 questions didn't matter. That's goofy. So,
It is.
so, yeah.
Yeah, they just kill me with that. And the fact of the matter is, like, the average Christian won't realize that their book is so outdated as far as where we have moved in society, as far as our morals and our values. and that they have a higher morals and values than the religion that they fall in. So what they have to do is what, just like what that gentleman beforehand was doing, is do a rereading into the Bible to try to flip and make it seem like God was thinking more on a moral standpoint that we're in or trying to get to now, not what the past has shown us of Christians following the Bible. And so they reread it and try to change it so that it can fit. And it just simply doesn't fit. The best thing they can do is just to let it go.
Right. And I wish it was that, as much as, sometimes I might, it's the other thing being a atheist fatalist. And what I mean by that is that the only reason why, it's not that I have any belief or shadow of doubt. I can see why it is how it's integrated, though. Like, even I don't believe in the whole black people being Hebrew Israelite shit, right? But isn't it kind of interesting that they use some of the same modeling with the transatlantic slave trade as the biblical laws for slavery and stuff like that? I think because it's human behavior and nature and culturalism. But when you slap 20 on 10 and got people thinking, if you could get people to think it's more than what it is, hold on one second, I got to be professional. For me,
For those who don't know, IG be calling us while he at work. So, but
one second. Go ahead, I can.
No, go ahead. If you can. You know, he not moving. Oh, he's still talking to them people. Let me see some of these comments. Oh, wow. IG is.
I'm black. I'm black.
Oh, you black? Oh, you back?
I'm back. I mean, I'm black. I'm back. Yes, it's the whole encoding of it, and this is why I tell people, yes, I cannot prove that you can't prove that the actual hardcore literal sense of your God is real. But I think because the idealism and how it introspectively affects people in this life, this is why it is difficult. It is so difficult because if we had the reverse, right? If people, let's say, if atheism moved in the way and somehow conquered and dominated, then unfortunately, or fortunately, should I say, that you would have a world dominated by the philosophies and the sciences of realism, humanism, and atheism, and all these isms. But because humanity and innovation, and that's how it plays too. Think about it. They're saying if I was allowed to exist but have the creative gumption to come up with this first, then surely what I think so far as socially and society goes must have something more to it or more be divinely. Surely my thoughts that have allowed me to innovate this, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Heaven, or I believe, just my interpretation, it isn't just the spiritual realm. You talk about mental work ideas. One thing.
You said a
To the
whole lot of
security
stuff,
box.
but when we look at countries in the world today that are like Norway, where they're 80% atheists and non-religious, they have a better quality of life. They have better health care. They have less people in prison. Their prisons actually are for rehabilitation. They have higher education. They are far better off in those countries where there are more atheists and non-religious people than there are religious people. So if the world did convert over to that mentality of non-religious or atheists, the world would actually be a better place, because now it's more about being a better human towards other humans, because you want those humans to be better towards you. So the world would be a better place.
Right. So I mean, it is so hard to unconvince people that, especially if it's in your judicial and legal system, the ideal of this deification system is into your legalese. And I think that would help cement it more into why people are convinced. It doesn't matter if the astronomical stuff isn't real. What is the society? What is the social? What is the laws a sociological aspect as why this connects. And when that's what I was saying earlier, that will be done on earth as it is in heaven, meaning the thoughts, what I think that has not happened, created yet, what I hypothesize, which is not yet manifested. I said if those people might take that as to their deification, because they are able to come up with a certain new innovation, they believe that that is divinity. And if I can create the battery or the airplane or medicine, therefore my other views on philosophy or spirituality or some sciences, I have some form of authority to command
Mhm.
it. If people do, if worlds and lives are changed by my innovation, then why wouldn't people go with what I say?
Yeah, I mean, people would, and that I mean, all societies are going to go with whoever is leading with the most power or innovation or thought process. And it's never going to be a perfect world, but it sure hell can be a better one. But let me get some more people on here real quick.
All right, good to talk from you. Good to hear from you, Herbie. I'm going to have to call you when I'm not at the plantation.
All
But
right.
yeah, let's stop deifying our emotions and thoughts, people. Cut that shit out. That's what you think. That's not what God think. That's what you think. Have a good day.
Yeah, we're good. All right, let's go back over to some of the people on the tickety top. I think I got the right order of when people chimed in. Not the same. Not the same. Not the same. Are you there?
Hello, brother. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. How old are you?
35.
Okay, good, good. And are you a believer?
This is one thing I was going to tell you about because it's kind of like in the middle. I don't believe in the religion, but I can't be an atheist because I believe that the things that they say in there are true, but it's manipulating in a whole different way. You get what I'm saying?
All right.
Like I believe in the like.
So do you believe in a God?
No, I don't believe it. I believe that we are somehow connected to that. Like I don't believe in the things that I believe that the stories that they put in there was made to throw people off. That's what I think. That's my beliefs. I believe that there's actual facts in there about things, but the way they describe is to make you look somewhere else or believe. You get what I'm saying?
I understand. I don't agree, but I understand what you're saying.
So like, okay, I'll give you an example. Like they say, like, I believe that those like certain things in religion and the Bible, I believe certain those facts happen, like wars and stuff like that, and they dress it up as mystical. They want to talk about these different things. It's like, to me, it's like they're trying to throw people off so they don't know the full truth about it. But I believe that, like, say, the Tower of Babel, like, I believe that they believe, like, they refer to heaven as the moon. I believe it. I believe these places was reached. I don't believe in the mystics. You know what I'm saying? When they get you to believe in heaven and they talk about heaven, they want you to believe in a place and
Right.
somewhere in the sky that's high where you can't see it, but it's there. I believe it. I believe that something was really there, is really there, or was really there, or whatever happened, and people did try to reach it. I believe that it's more factual than what people think it is.
I mean, there is archaeological evidence that shows that in Babylon and a few societies before then that they were building these large ziggurats, which were dedicated to different gods and some dedicated to other purposes. And there was an unfinished ziggurat that this king was trying to finish in, well, multiple kings over a 90-year period. And it was still unfinished when the Israelites were in Babylon. And so they created this whole story as propaganda towards the Babylonians when they were freed. That's like the leading non-religious thought process on that, because we do find those things. Now, you're right. As far as, and I agree that they add these mysticisms to them, but the mysticism wasn't necessarily to throw people off as much as they were just trying to create a religion for themselves, a base of pride for themselves.
But why would they do that? If they was trying to do it for itself, like why would they need a whole following? It's like they want the whole world to believe. You get what I'm saying? It's not like it's like
I,
think about the
they didn't
wars.
actually, when they wrote this, they didn't really give a damn about the whole world believing it, because one, they didn't know the whole world exists, but for them, they were henotheistic. They believed that their God exists, but their God was just for them to worship, but everybody else's God existed as well. So they weren't trying to get other people to follow their God. They were just like, you follow yours, I'll follow mine.
Okay. And then later on, they had when I think about it, later on they had the Crusades.
Yeah. Now when Rome took over, that's different. Rome was forcing people to, we're gonna make everybody be Christian. And then the Europeans did the same thing in their age of discovery, and so on and so forth. So it took on a different light when the Romans did it. Because even Jewish people today, people who practice Judaism, they don't try to recruit.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's more like that's more like with the major religion, Christian, Muslim, and they try to get a big group of followers. I just believe that there's real knowledge. I believe that there's real knowledge there, and there's actual things that happen. I just think that they're just being like how you said with the Babylon thing. They're just misleading people and painted a narrative that suits them. Whoever these people are, whatever they're, in those times, we knew what they were doing it for: power and control. You get what I'm saying? Everybody want to have control over somebody and rule over people. They don't want to, just like when you were talking about the slavery thing. That's that kind of mindset, like where you want to just control another person and have them. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, all religions are about control. At some point, they become at some point they become about control. They may initially start out not about control, but they eventually turn into control once people see the possibility and opportunity to control other people. So do you think the morality of the God of the Bible is worse than our morality today or better than our morality today?
I mean, yeah, man. I mean, this dude killed babies. This dude told you to kill your son. He told you that. I mean, like, all the things, that doesn't sound like a person that loves people. I mean, just from my perspective, that doesn't sound like a person that loves people. That doesn't sound like a being or anybody that loves people. It sounds like they just want to use fear to control people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I get out of it. And that's why I say, like, that's it. My struggles with things is that there are actual things and actual people that actually lived in the Bible. That's why I say it's like they mixed stories, like took facts about things that happened and then like some weird way. I don't know how they did that. I don't know how this came about. It was, but it's like through history, they manifested what they want, drew up a plan and said, these people are these people, and this happened with this, and then tried to conjure a belief. And that's what you got to think about it. That's what them people go off. They have to have faith and belief, and you know what I'm saying? And you're supposed to suffer before you reach paradise. It's just certain things just don't make sense. It don't add all up. You get what I'm saying?
No, I understand what you're saying. And the thing about it, if you're going to unify people, if you're going to use a story to unify people, you're going to have to utilize things that they are familiar with. So, or even if you're just creating a story just for people to buy your story, like this is why Spider-Man is in New York, so that people can identify that, oh, I'm familiar with New York, so now I'm going to read the fantasy part of this story. So these people were, okay, we live in the Levant. We know about these Canaanites and these Hittites and Jebusites. We know about the Babylonians. So we're going to write stories that are about those people, where we're going to inject those people and those places into our story so that the people will say, oh, this place is real. Jerusalem is real. It was seized by the Assyrians, and Hezekiah fought against that. And even though every other city in northern Israel was losing, Hezekiah was able to maintain because an angel killed 180 of Sennacherib's troops.
Yeah, see, so that's the throw off right there.
Right.
That they throw in there, yeah.
But that makes it believable because back then people thought that those things happened for real. Like we know Spider-Man didn't Spider-Man and Captain America wasn't helping during 9/11. We know that. But if you are a child 2,000 years from now, you might believe that Captain America was helping the firemen in 9/11. If people started believing that that is true. And that's how those supernatural stories develop. It takes time, and you write it at a time frame where people, there's no eyewitness, no one to counter it. No one can say, nah, that didn't happen.
Right. Because who was living 600 or 1,000 years ago? You get what I'm saying? Like,
right. Like most of these stories in the Old Testament, the Genesis story, the Pentateuch stories, are written in around from 600 to about 400 BCE. But they're writing about things that supposedly happened in 1200, in 1000 BCE, in 4004 BCE. So they're writing about these stories that no one can validate. And they didn't have the archaeological instrumentation that we have today. So if if the rulers or the people in charge said it, then the people believed it.
So just looking at it and just seeing these certain things that stick out, one of the conclusions that I came to is that, yes, knowledge is power, but knowledge can be manipulated and used as control.
Of course.
And that's exactly what my conclusion is. That's what these books are, and that's what religion is. That's how I feel, that there's believable things in there, and there's some good knowledge in there for you, but to counter that, this was put into place to keep people fooled and keep people thinking, and just to distort the history, because from my point of view, history is powerful. Knowing the truth about history is powerful, and that's why that these certain people try to control that. You get what I'm saying? The narratives.
Mm-hmm. I do. So what God do you believe in?
I don't. That's why I say I don't believe in. I believe that we don't. What I think is that we don't know the truth. I think it's these people's fault. You get what I'm saying? That's what I basically be trying to get at. Like, I think that somewhere, somehow, there's some truth about like nature and the reality of things, but I just don't believe that it's that. I don't believe it's how they frame it. I don't believe it's a God that just controls everything, and I just don't believe it. I think that that's just some form of control to think like that.
So are you Gnostic? So you're Gnostic?
I would say pretty close to Gnostics, yeah.
Okay, so your thought process is there's this God who created everything, but he ain't down here Geppetto. He ain't Geppetto and everybody pulling strings and shit.
Yeah, my thought is that there's creation. There's some type of source of creation, but I just don't know what it is. And I can be honest and say that.
No, that's an understatement. I mean, I don't know how all energy in the universe started, and to me, there is no start, because we can see energy just transmuting from one source to another source, and energy is not created or destroyed, so it's just always been. Probably never gonna know if there was some type of antimatter matter collision that created everything, but I don't think that there was a conscious being that said, I think I want to make the universe, and I'm gonna make it like this, and I'm gonna put these rules and laws of the universe of physics, and let's just see what happens. I don't think that happened either, because I don't see any evidence of some type of purposeful creation. Some creation that was done on purpose. But just energy transmuting from one form to another, and depending upon all the elemental things that happen around any particular area, then life started here. And there's mathematically, there should be life on hundreds of millions of planets throughout our known universe. That's just our known universe. I ain't talking about beyond that.
Let me ask you something real quick. Do you think that long ago, way before the plague and the destruction and the struggle for power and these people came and all these things came about, but way before that, do you think it was a time we was closer to knowing and realizing?
In our known history, I'm gonna say no. In our known history is not that far. Like our truly known history only goes back about 12,000 BCE. Everything else beyond that, the evidence of people and civilization is so minute. We don't, like there's so little information. We have no idea what those people thought. So like the footprints that are found in Utah that date back to 25,000 BCE, all we got are footprints. So the only thing we can say is some people were walking and that there was some men, there was women, and there was children. That's it. We don't really know much else. We don't know about their society. So I can't make a claim that they would have been closer to the knowledge of any type of beings or whatnot. So no, I don't think, but from the people that civilizations we do know about, they thought that the stars were gods and there were gods in constellations, and they thought mountains and volcanoes were gods. So no, I don't think there was any closer based on our current information.
Yeah.
Now, it'd be great if we found Atlantis. Let's say Atlantis actually exists and we find it and we find some type of information about their culture, texts or potteries or paintings that would tell us more about what those people thought. That'd be great. Then we know. And maybe they knew something beyond what we know. We like to fantasize that they were this super intelligent, peaceful, technologically advanced society, but we don't know that. That's fantasy. The real answer is we don't know, and probably never will know. We probably never know that.
And when they use these things, they take advantage of people that don't know, but they want to know. The searching mind. That's why I said these narratives are dangerous. You know what I'm saying? The narratives that they you got to be careful, because these people paint narratives for people, but it's to promote and push the power that they want to keep, power that they want to control. That they control people by the masses, man. You never, what really done it for me is you're never gonna get me to believe that these people that do horrible things look up to somebody that they call a god, and this God is all loving, all powerful, and there's no correction coming from him. You get what I'm saying? There's no correction. There's never no correction.
No, there's not. I mean, we have the rare occasion, but the only corrections come from humanity itself. If humanity decides to correct somebody, then that person will be corrected. If humanity does not decide to correct them, they will not be corrected. No God is intervening to correct anything that happens in our society, which is why it is up to us to police ourselves and police our societies, especially when we see a great injustice being done. And that's how we have moved from the different moral stance that people had 2,000 years ago to where we are today, is because somebody or some groups of bodies stood up and said, you know what? Women should be able to vote. People shouldn't be owned. Children shouldn't be working in factories when they're 9 years old. We have policed ourselves up to this point of being in a better moral stance than what people were back in the time of Jeremiah and all these other folks. And hopefully we'll continue to progress and not regress, because we can regress. It's possible.
Trial and error.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard. It's we have got. I feel like we've come a long way, but I feel like that that power struggle is still there. They're still using it. I mean, look at the wars going on now. They want to call this. They use religion to do this stuff.
Yeah, it'll always be
You
there.
know that they're using religion right now and calling it a godly war to harm and kill people.
Yeah,
and it's just like
it'll always be there. We won't ever get rid of that. I don't think we won't get to a point where that's going. I don't think.
But that should be enough. I feel like that should be enough to let people know that they shouldn't follow behind that. You know what I'm saying?
Humans are stupid.
They're using the Christian narrative. They're using the Jewish narrative. They're using all these narratives.
People as a group can be really stupid. So that's a hard. As an individual, a person can be smart, but as a group, people can get real dumb in a group. But let me get some other people on here, my guy. But I appreciate you.
Appreciate you, brother.
All right, thank you.
I'll give you flowers.
Appreciate that. I'm trying to keep everybody to a certain time limit. I'm thinking that I'm getting everybody in the right order here. Marvin, I think is what they say. I need to look at these names before I click it. You there, Marvin? Marvin. Oh, maybe Marvin hit it by accident. I think Daniel was next. Daniel's gone. Then I think Marshall was before Jartis. So let's do Marshall. Marshall is not there anymore. Let's see, is Jartis is here. Jartis is not there. All right. We're back to an empty slot. The waiting room is empty now. So if you want to jump on, this is the perfect time to jump on. I saw some people, one person was saying that, who sent Abraham Lincoln? Abraham Lincoln was a product of his culture. And if he could have saved the Union without slavery, without ending slavery, he would have. And that's it from his exact words. Insidious. You there?
Yes.
All right. Two things. First, three things. I'm gonna need you to speak up a little bit. And then, are you over 21?
Yes.
All right. And speak up a little louder. And are you a believer?
Yeah.
You okay? You think so?
Well, yeah.
So, do you believe in what God do you believe in? You think you believe in?
The Christian God.
Okay.
The Abrahamic God.
Okay. So, why do you think so? You have doubts?
Well, because obviously he's never spoken to me, so I can't be 100% sure.
Okay. All right. That's very honest. Normally don't hear people saying that one.
You say slavery approved.
Yes.
Where does the Bible approve slavery? Are you talking about the Jew laws? Like,
yeah, there are multiple times that this God of the Bible in the Old Testament approves slavery as well as the New Testament. The one of the main ones that I focus on is Leviticus 25, verse 44 through 46, where he tells them that that of their male and female slaves to go to buy them from the foreigners who are around them and who live amongst them, and that you own them as property and you pass them down to your sons, and that you can treat them harshly, but don't treat your fellow Israelites harsh.
yeah, I don't really like. I'm not going to pretend that I like their weird Jewish laws. Although then again, those weird little rules, like how they can't eat anything, can't eat pork and shit, that was supposed to be sort of solved by, I think the idea is that Jesus, he was the ultimate sacrifice, so that's why they don't have to follow those weird rules anymore.
Actually, that's more of a doctrinal thing that once the Romans took over, that they changed because they knew the writers, like the people like the Paul, they knew that the Romans were not going to accept following Jewish laws. So they wrote things in there to kind of swerve people away from it by utilizing some Old Testament stuff and misutilizing some of the Old Testament stuff, like in Jeremiah. But Paul still is okay with the slavery because he tells a slave, Ananias, he tells them to go back to your master and So still be a slave. He just tells the master, you and your slave are both Christians, so treat him like a Christian, even though he's still your slave. So even in your New Testament, you still got Paul approving slavery. And if Paul's supposed to be inspired by God, it's still the inspiration is still on tap. Now, as far as the other laws, Jesus says that you're supposed to follow that law.
Well, is that him approving of slavery, or is that just him telling you how to treat your slaves if you have them?
That's approving it. Yeah, that's still approving.
I think there's a difference.
Okay, so example I used earlier today was that if I tell somebody who, let's say my daughter is in my house, and I said, well, if you're going to use the morphine, you're using morphine. If you're going to do it, make sure your needles are clean, and you don't tie your arm off too tight, and use this kind of spoon. I'm still approving what she's doing by giving her rules of how to do it. Because if I didn't want her to do it, I just say, you can't do this in my house.
What if your daughter, or what if somebody was trying to, for example, somebody you don't like is having sex with your daughter?
Mm-hmm.
You might tell your daughter, you need to use protection when you're with him, because you can't stop it. You can't stop your daughter from having sex. That's a better.
But see, here's the problem with that. God is supposed to be ultimate rule, all powerful, all knowing. I, as smart as I think I am, know exactly how dumb I am. Meaning that I know how much information I don't know. I know it's how far the extent of my power goes. God is supposed to be omnipotent. His power goes beyond anything. If I was God, I had God power, then I would tell my daughter, no, you're not having sex, period. Don't have it. I wouldn't tell her, well, just use protection. Yeah, I know you're having sex with this guy. It'd be like, no, don't have sex.
Well, Paul isn't God.
But Paul is supposedly being inspired by God. Do you think that his writings are inspired by God, or just this is what Paul thinks?
I think they're inspired by God.
Then it's God. Because Paul actually tells you when something is of his own opinion.
All right. I don't really hate you. I hate most people I go to talk to. So I'm going to find somebody I don't like. All right. Okay.
That would not be very Christian of you.
Thank you for letting me come up here.
All right. Appreciate it. That man said, I got to go find somebody I don't like. I like you, but I'm going to go find some people I don't like. Real quick, let me thank everybody who's a member of the... I want to thank all the fan club people on TikTok and all the people who give gifts on TikTok. Thank you very much. People who are members on Facebook and YouTube members and who give super chats. Thank you. Those who are subscription holders on Facebook, thank you. And those who give stars on Facebook, thank you. And for everybody who's for all the platforms who share videos and our followers, thank you very much for the support of this channel. Man said, I gotta go find somebody I hate. Oh man, I might just have to clip that one just for that last part. That last part was oh man. Oh my. No, but if this guy is supposed to be omnipotent. He can tell you, hey, if you touch this, no, I'm gonna use a different one. People always like to use the mixed linen. If you touch the Ark of the Covenant, I'm gonna kill you. He can establish something like that. It's not a law, it's something that he just established, one of the rules. I guess you can't call it a law, because only the Levitical priests are supposed to be able to touch the Ark of the Covenant. If he can establish, hey, if you touch this box, you're gonna die, he can just as easily say, hey, no slavery. That he can easily say that if a woman makes a promise, a woman's promise is meaningful, that women are not property, that children cannot be SA'd, that you don't genocide a whole people, don't conquest nations. He can let people have their free will, not ultimatums, or even take away someone's free will to make them do what he want to do. And he can tell you, hey, stop killing people who don't agree with your religion, or treating them differently simply because they don't agree with your religion. You are Samson, young and black and Samson. All three are desirable. Please let me or somebody to help. I don't even know what that means. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Okay. Thank you everybody for hearting up the TikTok. I need that TikTok hearted up because the whiners will get you banned on TikTok. I think they've gotten better with not doing that as much, but it's oh man. Why don't Jesus ever teach well-being? Yeah, he really doesn't teach anything about well-being. And basically, just do whatever the government tells you to do. Pray for the government. That was Paul who said that. Yeah, these beliefs. I mean, the Jesus character calls the Canaanite woman a dog, and first is like, I ain't helping you because you're a dog. And then when the lady say, yes, I am a dog, but I can get your crumbs. Okay, you know what? You know that you're a dog, so I'm gonna let you. Can you explain why I would always view slavery as wrong? Most likely because you have grown up in today's world. If you had grown up 700 years ago, depending upon where you grew up, you would not have thought that slavery was wrong. But it is because of the culture you've grown up in, and our culture, overwhelmingly, people think that slavery is wrong. If you were born and raised as a Roman citizen during the time frame of name a Caesar, then you would have thought slavery was okay, except for enslaving other Roman citizens. But then even that, some Roman citizens deserve to be enslaved. So, well, not deserve, but can be enslaved. So we do that based on our culture. Isabel. Hey, Isabel.
Hi.
And how old are you, Isabel?
50 years old.
50, okay. And are you a believer?
I'm an atheist.
Okay. Welcome.
This is the first time that I've actually stepped into, I guess, your realm. So I'm not up to par as to the conversation, but I would like to stick around if that's okay with you.
Like stick around in the box?
Yeah, I'm interested in what you have to say.
Okay. I usually don't do that because I usually only talk to one person at a time. Because when there are multiple people talking, it becomes like this quagmire of conversation. But
are you an atheist?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So we're talking about religion, I suppose, and what it's doing to the world in general.
Yeah, about how the Bible shows a God and is a text and a book and a culture that most people in the world today would find to be immoral. Of course, Christians have to jump through hoops to justify all the immorality in the Bible because their culture today is telling them that those things were immoral, so they have to justify it somehow. And so the conversation is about how Christians are doing that instead of just recognizing that the God of the Bible is incredibly immoral based on how we are today.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I guess this is how I stumbled upon you, which is kind of a good thing because I'm probably the only atheist in my family, in my immediate family. Very Christian, very, very. I want to say things that are. This is where where the separation comes within family members that do see certain things differently, and trying to convince them that maybe, just maybe, religion is a place where you hide after a tragic event has happened, or when society doesn't accept what you have to say. That's how I see my family members. There is absolutely no talking to them. There is no rationale, and this is where I believe religious, what is this? It's called psychosis, religion psychosis. Is that the word I'm trying to find here?
Yeah, religious psychosis.
Right. That's a new term for me, and that is a term that I consider is something that needs to be explored, just because of what I witnessed in my own family. And, you know, there is a psychosis. There is no talking to them. There is the one God, and that is what will definitely save everything. But if we look at their actions, how they behave, that says completely the opposite of what a true, I guess, Christian or God-fearing person should do. And I don't see a conversation or a dialogue other than it's God and this is the way, and anything else aside from that, it's just not the way. And then therefore, myself being an atheist, my family, who I've let them pick their own, I let them develop their own minds as to how they want to think. And they also followed this route as questioning what we were born with, what we were told that we needed to believe. And I feel like we're going into a very dangerous place if we go here blindly believing the institutions that they want us to be part of.
No, I agree with you, and I understand what you're saying. You know, and my family is similar to yours. Most of my family is Christian. There are some agnostics. There are some fence-straddling Christians, and now my kids are more agnostic than they are Christian or atheist. But of course, my kids are different because I raised them, and I raised them to think critically about any and all things, and that if they're going to devote themselves to anything, they need to know about the thing that they're devoting themselves to. The issue with most Christians, though, is that they never actually study the thing that they're devoting their life towards when it comes to religion. One of the things I said early in about 2 hours ago, almost 2 hours ago, was the fact that if somebody goes into a profession, they will study the hell out that profession because it is that important to them in order for them to have a livelihood. But religion, they get lazy with it because there's no immediate effect of religion in their life because most of them are looking for some type of afterlife. So they cherry picked the people who instructed them, cherry picked their way through into their belief of that religion. They taught them about, oh, you're going to go to heaven and Jesus forgives you and God forgives you and he's going to, you know, pour over blessings to you and he's going to heal you. So they cherry pick the hell out of it to tell you just these little good things, but never delve into the actual theology, the history of it, the archaeology behind it, the culture behind it. So when you're talking to family members, they've been indoctrinated with all this cherry pick stuff for 10, 15, 30, 50 years, that to talk to them about anything else, they're going to jump through hoops. They're going to create a reason for them to stay in that religion.
I feel that if they give this up, that they feel their identity has been stripped away. Somehow they become it. And it's everything. It has consumed who they are. And it's quite frightening, to be blunt about it. It's frightening to see that change. And here as we move forward with this, I don't see how we're able to reach people if we can't if we can't just communicate about maybe perhaps that's just not the right way. You know, I feel their whole life and existence will crumble. And for them to let that go, then that's they feel like we're attacking their character as a person, who they are, and everything, and it's just not quite that far.
Mm-hmm.
We're just asking them to separate a reality from fiction. That's it. That's it. A simple reality from fiction, maybe a dialogue, and it's not to be had. And I'm surprised you're not getting a lot of hate on here as to calling us out, maybe that we're gonna go to hell and things like that. Especially the ones that kicker for me. This is the kicker for me. It's the and I don't study the Bible. I do not. I never have. Just little pieces here and there. But the honoring your father and your mother.
Mm-hmm.
Is there not a clause in the Bible that also says something about your children being honored as well? You must protect your children.
Well, there is a part that says that you don't tempt your father shouldn't tempt their children. It tells you that you shouldn't tempt your children. Really, beyond that, there's not a whole lot as far as parents protecting their children. I mean, the Old Testament, you got fathers who can sell their daughters into slave marriages.
Well, there you go. There you go.
And if your children are disobedient, you can kill them. It's more about the male than it is about anything else. The male Israelite is more concerned about their well-being than anyone else's. Not so much about protecting your other family members. So, it's not a whole lot. You just got, not a lot at all.
Corey says, how can you criticize something that you know nothing about? I know something about it. I know that if this God says, and it's almighty, he has not been here. So your God, in essence, is failing you. It's asking you to do something here and now to provide you with something when you're dead.
Right.
When you're dead, not when you're here. He created this mess for you so you can endure it. And if you don't follow him and his rule, he will punish you when you die.
Yeah.
And if you do follow him, he will praise you when you're dead. Dead. No heartbeat, no pulse. How does that even make sense to anyone?
You know what? I wouldn't even get overly caught up with that comment that Corey made there, because they're on the same way that you got a bunch of Christians who've never researched, studied, or even read this book, and they are devoted Christians. You got atheists who just read cherry picked about as much as what the Christians have, and they said, "Oh, hell no, I'm not doing it." I mean, I know a dude who is an atheist. He's atheist because he only read the birth narratives of the Jesus character and the resurrection narratives of the Jesus character, saw all them contradictions, and was like, "Nah, I'm good." Didn't even need to go farther than that. Was like, "I'm good. I don't even need to read the rest of this thing because I already see the contradictions and the lies, so it can't be true."
If I have to believe in the God that you presented to me, then I have to believe, and that people hate this. It's gonna drive them. It's gonna create problems. But here it goes. If I have to believe in a man in the sky, then I have to believe in the Tooth Fairy. I have to believe in Santa Claus, because if Santa Claus, the Almighty, can deliver gifts in one day, and Jesus can do all of these, then that comes into the conversation. But then that is ridiculous, right? That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right? It's ridiculous. So with everything that's happening now, do we not expect him to show up for us now? I mean, he should be here now. I'm waiting. We're waiting. This is the time for him to come. Let's come down.
Yeah.
If you're here for us, then this is I mean, there's have been many devastations all over the world, in which his presence, if he exists, should be here now.
He should be, but he's not.
Right.
So.
And if you have read and studied scriptures, well, that's amazing. Good for you. You know, it is like a teaching. It's like you say, it's your livelihood. So
exactly.
I don't know what else to say other than rational thinking. Science will always be above what that book says. Always.
It will be. And I appreciate you, Isabel. I'm gonna get on to a couple of more people before I get off here for today.
Okay.
But I
Thank you so
appreciate you.
much
Thank you.
for your time. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Let's see. I think before Joe comes up, there was one other person before Joe. All right, that person's gone. So the list goes right now, Joe and then Resilient. So I'm gonna go Joe over here on, and then Joe.
Yes.
How you doing? Are you over 21? Oh, well, you're
40.
on Facebook, you're YouTube, so it don't matter. Okay. Are you a believer?
Yes.
In what God?
Christianity.
Okay.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Why should I view slavery as always wrong?
Why should you view it as wrong? A person owning another sentient person is.
Why should I view it as always wrong? I could give you certain circumstances where I absolutely approve of forced labor.
Okay. What's your example of when slavery should be okay?
Prison.
What did you say? I couldn't hear you.
The individuals that break the law and go to prison, they should be forced to labor.
No, I disagree with forced labor in prisons. Why should that are you an American?
Why should I? Why?
Are you an American?
Why?
Are you an American? Joe.
Can you give me a reason, or is it just your preference?
Are you an American?
Can you give me a reason, or is it just your preference?
Look, you want me to answer your question? Just answer my question, then I'll answer your questions. I mean, that's how my conversations work.
Yes, I'm American. Can you explain to me, is that your preference then, or what is that?
So, as Americans, we have been conditioned to accept the 13th or 14th Amendment, which there it states that I think it's the 13th Amendment that ends slavery, 13 or 14.
Right there, because
That
the logic of this is already ridiculous.
You're
losing your rights. You're losing your rights when you're going to jail, dude.
Let me explain something to you. I'll interrupt you. That's fine, because it's my show. You ain't interrupting me. All right. So understand that. I can't remember if it's either the 13th or the 14th Amendment. It's one of those two that gives the right of forced labor in prison, because you lose your rights as an American citizen when you commit certain levels of crimes. And most Americans have been conditioned to accept that as a way of life in America. I don't have to accept that, even though I am an American, live in America. I don't have to accept that that's how it should be. We have seen examples in places like Norway, to go back to that country, how they don't use forced labor and have a better rehabilitation system, less repeat criminals, and less criminals, period, through their system. And they are an 80% secular nation. So that is why I say it, because I look at the research of repeat criminals and other countries that don't have that, and how their prison system works. Okay, go ahead.
Can you explain to me why I would compare Norway to America?
Explain. Say that one more time.
Explain why I would compare Norway to America.
All I heard is explain Norway, America.
Can you please explain why I would compare Norway to America?
Well, so in comparing one nation to another nation, and which we do this all the time in most things in life, when you can compare one system to another system, you may be able to see a better way of doing things than the way.
Yeah, if there's one system that's different than the other, that doesn't mean you could give like a straight correlation to like, oh, well, just because, do you know how much, what's the population in Norway? Are we like going to take that into consideration versus the 330 million in America? Are we going to take into consideration how they like that they're, you know, mostly Norwegians there?
Those types of things don't really matter.
Why would they not matter?
I mean, you can take you. They don't. I said really matter, not matter
Why
at
would they
all.
not matter?
Listen to what I said. I didn't say they didn't completely matter. You take in a lot of different. So when you're doing any kind of study, a sociological study, you take in a lot of different variables, and one of the variables would be the population size. You take in industry. You do take in the culture, the mixture, diversity. All those things are part of the equation.
I don't
When
really
you
care about your comparison to Norway to America because I don't really see it as relevant. So could you please, like, you know, try to find something else that would prove my view that forced labor in prison is wrong?
that's the way that I think through it. So I don't really. It doesn't matter if you care or not.
Well, then I definitely.
I'm not here to please you or nothing like that. And to dude, your mic is terrible, or you're doing something that's I think you're going away from it. Because I
reject your example because I don't find it as a
bro. Now I said I can't understand you, can't hear you, and your mic just getting worse, and that's getting on my nerves. And your argument is terrible. Your argument is terrible. If you sound like a nationalist is what you sound like. You sound like a nationalist who's like, oh, America's great and we got to do everything America. I don't care about nobody else's bullshit. Then keep thinking the way you think. Keep thinking the way you think, then. I'm not here to try to convert nobody. I care less at the end of the day of what, because you got to make decisions of your life about your life. Antizzle. Thank you. I should put my reading glasses on when I see this small print up there. Are you over 21?
Yeah, I'm 40.
Okay. And are you a believer? All right. So what are your thoughts?
So slavery was never approved in the Bible. I know what verses you're gonna run to say that it was, but that was so the Bible says eye for an eye. These nations had taken Israelites into captivity. And Revelations.
Hold on. Wait. No. Stop. When did the Canaanites take the Israelites into slavery?
So they didn't take Israelites who were believers in this slavery. They took Israelites who were living as Canaanites into slavery.
When?
During that whole scripture that you read. But
in Leviticus? In Leviticus? No, we're not. In Leviticus, during the time frame of Leviticus supposedly being written, that was when they were leaving Egypt, not the Canaanites. Now, if we want to go historical, they never were in Egypt.
They were leaving Egypt, so he told them to do that. But the Canaanites were already known for having slaves, and the slaves that they had were Hebrew Israelites that were not following the faith, so they were considered Canaanites.
Where's your proof of that?
And they was in other Romans. They was in other lands.
What proof do you have of that? Because no, okay. No, don't jump to Revelations, because you got to deal with the story that is telling in Genesis and Exodus. According to the story in Genesis, Joseph brought all the Israelites that were in existence at that time frame to Egypt. They lived in Egypt for 200 something years, and then the next 200 something years they were slaves in Egypt, and then the Israelite left. There was nothing in Genesis that says that Israelites were left behind, because all of Jacob's kids and all their servants came to Egypt, and they stayed in Egypt, and then with Moses is when they left. So that's not in the Bible. That's not in the Old Testament. That's not part of that story.
All of the what do you call it? They talk about it later on. That's why the Bible is not meant to be read linear. That's where your confusion comes in. So when you read the Bible, it tells you about different time zones and different books, and you don't have to stay in Leviticus to find out what happened in Leviticus. But you wouldn't know that because you hate God. So
Okay.
Revelations 13 and 10.
Let me give you a warning here. When you try to tell me who I am and how I think and how I feel, you're gonna get cut off. I don't hate I can't hate something that don't exist in my mind.
Well, Revelations 13 and 10, you're talking about something that don't exist. So you must care about it.
Well, you said I hate it.
You got a certain feeling towards it because look at what you said about it. And it ain't like it.
It ain't hating it.
Either way.
I cannot like you, but that doesn't necessarily mean I hate you, right?
No.
Because I've told my children plenty of times, I don't like you right now. Does that mean that I hate my kids?
Well, I'm going by according to the Bible. And according to the Bible, if you speak against, that is hate.
Well, the Bible is not the end all be all of reality.
It is, you just don't know it yet, but you'll find out.
So Revelation's what?
So Revelation's 13 and 10. You can read it for yourself, or I can tell you what it says.
Oh, I'm gonna read it as well, but you can go ahead and say what you want to say.
Captivity shall be what?
Shall go into captivity.
And he that taketh what is saying with the sword,
shall be killed.
Is going directly against slavery. Now the portions there of the book that you're looking at that says slavery is okay because God said that it was okay. The only time that God said that slavery was okay was when he was saying for the Israelites to free themselves out of all nations.
You really think that that you're going to take this super stretch of Revelations 13 and this little statement to say that, oh, there were Israelites who was already pre-slaves in the Canaanite lands, so that justified them taking Canaanites into slavery and genociding Canaanites?
That's not one little verse. I can give you the one that
dude, that verse don't even connect to your statement. It does not.
It does, but you don't know how to read the book.
No, I know how to read it without having a predisposed landing spot, and so that I create these stretches.
You wouldn't have anything in the Bible except for the ones that you focus on. You wouldn't know how to read the stories, because if you did, then you'd know that the Bible tells you precept upon precept. It doesn't say read it linear. That's for fools.
Well, see, what you are proving is that you have been completely indoctrinated into this book to the point where you are doing your mental gymnastics to make it fit. When the Bible is telling you a linear time story and giving you when it's going from the storyline of the last part of Genesis through Exodus and the Leviticus, Deuteronomy, and all those and Numbers, and into Joshua, that is all telling a linear story of what happens.
Part of the Bible, not to cut you off, but are you saying that no other part of the Bible speaks of those days except for those books?
No, other parts of the Bible do speak.
Okay,
hold on, let me finish. Other parts of the Bible do speak of those days, but when you study this Bible scholastically, one of the things that you recognize is that the writers especially the writers of the New Testament, but you can see this in some of the writers of the prophets as well, that they are adding their storyline into the Old Testament, and they are taking from the Old Testament to validate or reread into it what's going on in their lives at that time frame or what they're prophesying about. So it is not that they know what was happening back then. They are pushing their ideology onto what was already pre-written. Now, you don't know how, and to act like you don't know how to read the Bible scholastically.
But see, you're saying scholastically, and you don't understand what the Bible tells you to read it like. You can't go outside the Bible to learn how to read the Bible.
Where does the Bible tell you that you got to read it? You got to read it a certain way. Where does it tell you got to read it? Where does it tell me I got to read it a certain way?
But I'm gonna say my point first. We met, and you can't stop cutting me off.
Oh, first of all, this is my show, and I can cut you off any damn time I want to.
Bro, but I'm gonna be subject to your bullshit.
That's very easy, because I'm getting ready to go to the gym in a few minutes, so I can kick you real easy. I really don't give a damn, because you came up here all aggressive and all that kind of shit with your little emphatic way of talking. And if you want to actually have a conversation with a grown man, then you wouldn't even initiate the conversation with an aggressive manner to start the conversation. But that's how you did it. So you act like a Hebrew Israelite, for one, the ones you see on the street most of the time who, rawr. So don't come to me talking about being a man when you don't initially know how to show tact when you first start a conversation with someone. I have never initiated a conversation with anybody on here with an aggressive mentality from the very beginning and calling them out and saying that you don't this and you don't that and all that, which is what you did. So you don't know how to be a man. So I suggest that you go and learn how to be a man before you come back to my channel. African American, was it African American something? I didn't see his whole name. Oh, African Americans ain't African. Okay. Okay. Are you over 21?
Yeah.
All right. And are you a believer?
No.
Okay. Cool.
So, you know, this is the point that most people don't get. You realize most people can't read. Seriously. So
Okay.
Here's an example.
Can I get you to speak up just a little bit, please?
Here's an example.
Okay.
How you know they can't read. So my mother just passed away. And one of the things she did when I was a kid, she promised herself that her kids weren't going to be dumb.
Right.
She taught us to read.
Mm-hmm.
He taught us to read was the Bible. And she said this on her deathbed. That was her biggest mistake. Because most people can't read, man. If you read what's in the Bible, you will see it. So in Genesis 2,
Uh-huh.
God isn't God anymore. He's Lord God.
Right.
And he's that through the rest of the Bible.
Right.
The rest of the Bible. So now, what's a Lord? Oh, that's just another name for God. You mean like landlord, warlord, drug lord? Is that the same thing? Yeah, it is. Same thing. It's just a man who wishes he was God. That's all it is. The average person don't even get that.
Right.
Then it goes.
Wait. Because I want to put this a little bit in a little bit more linguistic archaeology. So what, for those who may not understand what he's saying, is that in Genesis 1 all the way through Genesis 2 in the middle of chapter 4, that's actually one scroll, one story. God is referred to then as El or Elohim in the Hebrew, but then once it gets to Genesis 2 in the middle of verse 4, it started to be called all capital Lord, which was the Yahweh, supposed to be in Yahweh, and Yahweh was a minor Canaanite deity that got elevated into the higher deity. So there's a big difference in the personality and the authority in the ancient Canaanite world at that time frame. Go ahead.
So I'm just going to land right here. So then if you go a couple of verses down, you'll see that this Lord God and Adam creates woman. When do two men create a woman? The average person, I'm talking about 98% of the people in the church, I don't know. They don't get it, man. And here's one more thing, and I'm going to land. Okay. And this is especially with so-called black people. When you ask them what was the spiritual practices of the people here before you were bought Christianity, Catholicism, and all that, they never know. All right, brother,
Yeah.
you're doing a good job.
All right, appreciate you. But and that's one of the things. One of the last things he said is something that helped me to deconstruct from Christianity and the Bible and stuff. Is that I thought about, especially when anytime I've worked on my ancestry, which I need to start back working on again. When I got to my relatives who came to the Americas in the 1850s, and then my other relatives who came to the Americas in around the 1750s. And it's weird that they are like almost 100 years apart. My mother's side of the family came to America in around the 1750s. My father's side of the family came to the Americas around the 1850s. What's crazy is that they had a religion before they ever came here. The family, I haven't tracked down any specific family members who were in Africa who came over here, because that part is, I probably never find a manifest with names on it or anything of that nature. But they didn't believe in this Christianity. They were forced into it. So then I asked myself the question, why would I continue to believe something that my earliest ancestors that I can find were forced into it, and every ancestor after that were indoctrinated into it? And even the few, I got one line that goes to some Native Americans, and on that line, they became Christian because of a treaty. And most people know about the 5 Civilized Tribe Treaty. There's this one line that goes through my grandmother, then there's a part of her line that branches off, and then there's a group that comes in, and they're Native Americans, right? They're Cree Indians. They signed a treaty, and they converted because of a treaty in order to make sure that they had some land, and then they took their land anyway. So why would I still believe this shit if it came through force and through a treaty? That's insane to me. All right, John's gonna be my last person, then I'm going to the gym. What up, John? Pretty good, man. How you doing? You over 21?
I am.
I want my voice to be naturally deep like that.
Yeah.
But so are you a believer, John?
Define what you're talking about as far as believer.
Do you believe in a God?
No.
Okay.
I believe in Yahuwah.
Isn't that a God?
No.
So
God and Lord are titles.
say what?
God
Uh-huh.
and Lord are titles. So let me do a disclaimer to you. I'm not a part of any cult or Hebrew Israelite or anything else like that.
Okay.
So I don't want you. I'm not going to be here considering how that you like the other brother was. I'm not a part of any of those sects or anything like that.
Okay.
I'm trying to learn the truth. You know what I'm saying?
I got you.
So I was just saying, I was looking at some of your things saying slavery approved. Have you ever read the whole chapter of Deuteronomy, chapter 28?
Yeah.
Where it talks about the curses of Yasharel?
Yeah.
For not doing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts on that is that it doesn't. Okay, so usually when I'm having that conversation, I'm talking to somebody who's a Hebrew Israelite, and the main emphasis is that has nothing to do with the transatlantic slave trade or the any Israelites who or the black people who were in the Africans who were part of that slave trade coming to America, and them being the, my forefathers. That's generally that conversation when it comes to Deuteronomy 28, because as far as like this 400 years of punishment, it doesn't fit the transatlantic slave trade. As far as them not having any buyers, it doesn't fit. As far as, and when it talks about them going to Mizraim, I know that they translate Mizraim without the definite article, even though it has the definite article. And when it has the definite article, it is speaking specifically of the land of Egypt, not a analogy of Egypt as a representation of bond servant, bond land.
So for me, from my understanding, the transatlantic slave, I think what is this slavery really initiated with what in 1619?
Yeah, well, the first African slave came in 1619.
So if you had 400 years of that, what would that be?
That would be 2019.
Okay, so if you read again, if you go back to read the curses of Deuteronomy chapter 28, then that will let you know pretty much who the people are, who we are. If you read the whole entire thing, and it explains in detail all the curses. And there's only one set of people that fit that category.
No, I disagree with that. Okay, where does see? I forgot where the curses start.
So if you read the curses, there's only one set of people in this world that fit that category, and they're people of color. I'm not saying that it's African Americans. I'm not saying it's all Africans. I'm not saying, but people of color fit that category. If you read those curses,
I'm trying to find where the curses start. Everyone is. Oh, wait a minute. I think is it 60 where the curses start?
Yes.
Yeah, I will bring back upon you all the diseases of Egypt, of which you were in dread, and they shall cling to you. That's where it starts, right?
Yes.
I don't think there's any curses above that.
It goes down verbatim about what we would suffer and what we would do for being disobedient. Not us, but our ancestors and stuff like that, for being disobedient. So I agree with you. When I talk to people, I'm like, what God are you talking about? You got Zeus, you got Ares, what God are you speaking about? Because like you said in Genesis, the creator, who I call is Yahuwah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, that's his Hebrewic name. If you read the King James Bible or any Bible, and when you were talking about the Bible has been interpreted, it does. It also says in Jeremiah and Isaiah about the lion scrolls of the hand. So you have to do your due diligence, and you have to ask for discernment and eyes to see and ears to hear when you do read this, because the lion scroll of the hands have changed everything. If you read the preface of King James, they'll tell you that they took the names out over like 6,800 times.
Well, I don't really read the King James.
And changed it to God and Lord.
Well, I don't really read the King James version anymore for decades now, because
most of the versions.
But wait a minute. But to get to the point of it, because I study a lot of history, right? I can actually pinpoint many different groups of people who experience similar things that you can find within this curse. You can even go directly to the Israelite people when they were conquered by Titus in 70, when he conquered Judea, and he dispersed the Jewish population all throughout the Roman Empire from that time frame. And then over the next hundreds of years, they were forced to be Hellenized. They were forced to worship some of the gods of the Romans. Now it created some revolts. They did try to revolt.
Probably about 99% agreeing on just about everything.
Right.
You see, I agree with.
Now the only problem is that it lasted way longer than 400 years. That they had to deal with the Romanized version of first the Roman what they call the pagan system, and then the Roman Christian system. So, but like when Christians, and then I can look at even though they didn't come out of Israel, I mean, the Chinese dealt with a similar type situation when they were being conquered as well by depends on who you're calling Chinese at that time frame, by the Mongols. And then you have it again when they were conquered by the Japanese. You can look at different African nations when they were either conquered by the Muslims or by the Christians, that they suffer through similar types of situations as well. And the Native Americans, the Christians came over and they dispersed Native Americans further and further west out of their homelands and forced them to worship Christian gods. And so many different cultures can say, oh, look, these curses, and they happen to our people. But that doesn't make the Bible true. That's just a system that has continuously repeated itself throughout history when a conqueror comes in.
You believe in evolution? You believe in evolution? You don't believe that we are created beings?
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't think we're creative beings. I think that we, over the circumstances of the Earth and the universe, our solar system more specifically, we evolved.
Oh, okay. I respect that, my brother.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, I'm not here to. I disagree, but I respect that. You know what I'm saying? So,
No, I respect your point of view. I just disagree with the whole thing that these Israelites.
You know, it's funny. My name is John, by the way. It's funny, man, but we have been lied to and indoctrinated so much, man, and it's so hard to believe anything that we have been taught. And over the years, we've been lied. Our parents were lied to. Our great grandparents were lied to. So, like you said, it's very hard. You just have to pray to the Creator for discernment and just like that. Eyes to see, ears to hear, man, because everything that we've been learned or been taught or whatever through everything we have been lied to. And so it's hard for anyone to really come. No one knows everything, except for the Creator, but it's hard for anyone to believe. It doesn't add up. A lot of things don't make sense. A lot of things don't add up, and that's why you have to ask the Creator for discernment, in my opinion. So,
well, and I respect. I can respect your opinion of that. I don't ask any creative. I used to. Actually, what you may find interesting is that my conversion happened while I was actually praying without ceasing, as they like to say, for the discernment. And as I was traveling to different places of the world and then having the opportunity to be in museums and meet curators and meet archaeologists and to go to a lot of these holy places, I was praying like nobody's business, because my goal was to reform Christianity, because I was thinking Christianity has been taught incorrect. But the more and more I was researching and studying and looking and praying, the more and more I slowly, because it took about, I started that journey when I was 9. I fully let it go when I was in about 30, 35, 36. But I was asking for the discernment, but the discernment led me out of the belief and the belief of a God, period.
I agree with you, my brother, because I'm third, fourth generation Seventh-day Adventist. So I'm with you. You know what I'm saying?
I had a time with them.
Yes. So I'm third, fourth, and so, and we've been praying to the wrong. We've been praying to Jesus and God and Lord and all that, and there's no such. You know what I'm saying? So,
I'm with you.
But Yahuwah and Yahusha are two different people. So, or different.
Yeah, I had to let the whole
names don't change to me.
I had to let that part go too.
All over the world. You haven't heard those words? You haven't heard those names?
Yeah, I actually used to I at one point I used to
Yahweh,
no.
Not Yahuwah. You know what I'm saying? We breathe his name. We breathe his name every day. It's our name is in his DNA. In our DNA.
I went that.
That's for another discussion, my brother. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too.
It's speak, man. It was good talking to you. It's nice talking to another brother that we can be civil.
That part right there.
You know what I'm saying?
See, I could probably go hang out with John.
Yes. Yeah.
If you was in San Antonio, I'd be like, man, let's meet up.
No, but if you ever come to Puerto Rico, man, I'm here.
Oh, that's part of that's on the books for possibly next year.
Yeah, man. I'm here in Puerto Rico, man. Retired here in 23. So.
Yeah, we was gonna move to Puerto Rico before we moved here to San Antonio, but y'all gotta get that power grid right, man.
Yeah, we're working on it, man. I see you got another follower in the way coming up.
Oh, I'm gonna get off here. I gotta go to the gym, and I gotta get this back fat off my back. All right, thanks, John.
Same to you. Do the same thing. Get up and walk too.
Yeah, exactly. But see, now I don't know if that other dude is still listening. He probably not. But that's how you have a grown folks conversation, even when you disagree. That's how you do it. That's how you have those kind of conversations. John got some dignity. I would actually, when we go to Puerto Rico, John is somebody that I was like, hey man, we come to Puerto Rico, bro. you got to hook us up. You got to let us know where to go, what to do, that kind of thing. I could probably sit down. I don't know if John has cigars, but we can have a cigar and talk. But some of these people, they don't know how to have a grown person's conversation. But look, we started this live early. We're going to start doing all of them earlier because doing them later and then finishing when my wife gets off doesn't give me time to go to the gym. And the way my back feels, working out in the morning just is not going to happen. My back is always hurting in the morning. So I have to give it time to adjust. So I'm getting ready to go to the gym. Hopefully everybody goes to the gym or work out, do some type of exercise every day. Keep yourself healthy because this is, as far as we know, this is the only body you got. That's it. The only body you got. The only life you're going to live. So you need to make the best of it. Regardless of what you believe, you need to make the best of whatever life that you have right now. So ending on a positive note, thank you guys. I'll see you guys. What's tomorrow? What's today? Today's Wednesday, right? Yep. So definitely be here tomorrow. So we'll be here tomorrow. Should start around 1:30, 2 o'clock time frame. No, should start around 1:30 again. We started at 1:30 today. Hopefully start a little bit earlier tomorrow. But we got to finish. I suppose that finished at 3:30. It's 3:58. So I got to go get a quick workout. So y'all have a great day. And always remember, you got to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations. And we are closing out for today.